Hey guys, welcome to Mikey Yourself. Today's video, we're going to install some Monroe Air Shocks on the back of my 2017 Dodge Ram 1500. I got these off of Amazon. I think I paid 80 bucks out the door, I believe, for the set. In the kit comes with two shocks. You get your tubing. I'm not sure how long that is, but you get tubing for there. And then all the adapters, right? So your fittings, all that kind of good stuff. They also give you these little clips to help you mount or route your tubing. But I went ahead and I just bought some of these. These are some anchors or cable tie mounts off of Amazon. I got a pack of 100 for like 9 bucks. I went to Home Depot and they had a pack of 30, I think, for 22 bucks. So if you're looking for some of these, far better to get the ones off of Amazon. Just make sure before you put them on, you clean the surface of whatever you're sticking them to, or else they're just going to fall off. I also happen to have plenty of zip ties, which is a pretty standard thing for you to have around the garage if you're working on stuff. But that's the kit, and we'll get those old ones off first, and then we're going to mount these up. There is a challenge with this installation, and that is the upper nut for the mount bolt on the Rams is notorious for being hard to get to the way they engineered it. You know, you either have to have a stubby wrench or a crow's foot. We're going to try a crow's foot to get in there, because you can't get in there with a wrench or like a regular size length wrench or a socket. There's just not enough room to squeeze it in. You end up like at a cockeyed angle or something like that. And the only way, if you really were like, I want to do this, you'd have to take the bed off, basically. So terrible design, but that's the norm, right? You all know that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'll get those old shocks off, and then we'll bolt these things up, and then it'll be just the tubing stuff. All right, guys, so we got the stock shock out, and you can see it's all wet there, so that's signs that it was leaking. The seal's probably blown on it. It wasn't too bad to get out. So on the Ram, the upper bolt goes through this bracket, and on the back side there's like a little cup where the nut sits on, and it's really difficult to get to. So we ended up using a crow's foot to get back there. They sell special tools, or I've seen people cut wrenches to make it stubby, but the crow's foot works just perfect. It's like a 13/16, or I used a 22 millimeter crow's foot because that's just what we had available. And then the lower bolt, simple, easy to get out. So we're gonna go ahead and bolt up the new shocks, and we'll run the lines after that. So we got the first side on. This is driver's side. I haven't tightened up my bolts yet, but I've got that in. Got this pointed towards the rear because I'm going to bring the tube and just run it along the frame there to the back of the rear bumper, and that's where I'll mount the inlet to fill the shock. So this first one is on. Sit down there, bolt it up. I just need to tighten everything up. All right, so we're pushing the airline through. So what I've done is I went ahead and put this side on. I'll show you the other side as I put the tube on, so that way you can see kind of the order of things. But essentially it's just you put the cap over the tube, and then there's a little O-ring that you put on there. You push the tube into the shock, and then as you tighten this nut down, the O-ring gets put into place. You want to kind of drive with your finger a little bit too, but that's what helps create the seal. It may not be perfect, so you have to test these with some soapy water just to make sure that you don't have an air leak. I use this channel that's part of the bed of my truck to get over to the other side, and then that way I can go ahead and get that hooked up, throw in our T, and then we're going to route the remaining hose back to the bumper where we're going to put the Schrader valve. If you get the line on, like I said, it's a cap, and then you can see this O-ring here. So to put it in, you just slide that hose right into your shock. You want to make sure it's pressed all the way in. It doesn't go in very far, so don't worry about too much. Like, you just want to make sure till it gets stopped. You don't have to like slide it in or anything like that. And then you just tighten up your little nut there, and that's going to push your seal in. Like I said, I was right next to the opening, so it's not like I had to drag that seal all the way across. So it's in. Now I've got to cut a section here to put my T fitting on, and then we run the rest of the line to the back of the truck. We're going to run along this area on the back side because there's a shroud that gets in here, and then finish out in the back end. We're going to drill a hole for the Schrader valve, and I'll show you that. All right, so we got everything in, checked it for leaks. So we just used a red Solo cup, threw some soap and water in there and kind of sprinkle it on the fittings to make sure everything was good. You have to put it to 90 PSI per the instructions to test for your leaks. Maximum on these shocks is 150, but that's while it's fully loaded. So just be aware of that for your kit. So right now you can see my height, my ride height is about 39.25 at the very moment. So we're going to deplete this down to 20 PSI and see how much it drops. All right, so after we've dropped it down to 20 PSI, we're at about 38.5 inches. So it dropped about a half inch, about 3/4 of an inch, almost to an inch. So that's kind of the adjustment you'll see. So if you're interested in doing air shock to raise and lower your vehicle for at least a regular standard truck, you're not going to get that much of a gain. It'd be just that 1 inch you're playing with. So if you had a mini truck, maybe it might be a little bit different output, and there's some videos online that I've seen guys who worked on that. So there you go, that's the output. So here's where we put the Schrader valve. It's just here. I drilled a hole through our bumper to just push it through, and the tubing is, like I said, just routed underneath the carriage here. I've got to put my zip tie mounts to hold it in place. Our T fitting is here on the passenger side of the truck, and the reason I did that is because the gas tank sits over on that side, and routing it back is a little bit more challenging. Plus my hole was drilled on this side of the bumper. On the other side of the bumper is the plug for your trailer, your hitch stuff. So I figure I'll just keep it all on one side. But you can see here we've got our tube going from this shock up to the T-fitting. This is the tube going across that channel and going into the T-fitting. And then this is what goes out to the back of the truck and to the Schrader valve. I'd mentioned I'm going to use those mounts with this tape. I've just got to clean the back side of this part of the frame so we can go ahead and zip tie it up. And then I have to just install my wheel shroud, and that's a done deal. So I'm going to pump this thing back up. I'm going to ride it at like 50 PSI just to see how it performs. And if I like the ride there, then that's where I'll leave it. I can kind of go up and down and figure out, do I want the ride to be softer, stiffer? Like I said, in the instructions, this is not to ride this thing with less than 20 PSI. And that's what keeps the boots in good condition. So hopefully you like this. If you did, hit that thumbs up. If you like my content, consider subscribing. I produce every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Until then, I'll see you on the next, and I'll see you in the win.